your Scorpio full moon forecast for May 1st, 2026. And on May 1st, we have the full moon in Scorpio, of course, at 11 degrees opposite the sun in Taurus. So Scorpio is intense. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and it is a very strong, powerful water sign. It is about intuition and power, and it is connected with the eighth house, which rules secrets, it rules intimacy, and of course, beginnings and endings. And because this is a full moon in Scorpio, yes, we are closing the book on some issue that is connected with Scorpio and Taurus. So, 11 degrees, moon in Scorpio, and it is just past a conjunction within 6 degrees of the 7 standard degrees of an aspect. So it is just hanging on barely to, in this case, a wide square with Pluto in Aquarius at 5 degrees. And it makes, of course, a T-square because it is also barely there squaring off the Taurus sun. So there is a T-square in the fixed signs on this full moon in Taurus. So what does that mean? Well, the moon in Scorpio is definitely about intensity. And of course, one of the rulers of Scorpio, the main ruler, is Pluto. And of course, Mars now at 16, well, I'd say about 17 degrees, 1656 of Aries. So Pluto and Mars for the moon are going to come into play here of importance. And Venus, which is at 9 degrees of Gemini, is the ruler of Taurus. However, because the moon in Scorpio is kind of the star of the show, you could say, in this full moon in Scorpio chart, Mars and Pluto are going to be paramount. And at this time, with the full moon in Scorpio, we have a very, very wide T-square in fixed signs. And fixed signs are very stubborn. They are the signs that are almost immovable. And when you have the immovable force, the moon in Scorpio with the immovable object, so they say in astrology, which is Taurus. And then you have Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is more of the idealist, one to focus on the future and our ideals, what we imagine to come about as truth and our highest aims. And in this case with Scorpio, we're going to feel awfully intense. And Scorpio, because it is connected with the eighth house and Pluto, which is kind of the behind the scenes, the underworld, and Mars, the planet of action, we're going to feel very intense at this time. And Scorpio, because it is such a strong moon and sign, of course, we're going to feel rather emotional, or there's going to be something or some things, if you will, in the news that are going to capture our emotions, that's going to be very intense. And because we have Pluto at 5 degrees of Aquarius in a very, very loose conjunction with, excuse me, uh, loose square off with the moon and the sun, the full moon and the sun. This could involve one, individuals that are in authority, Pluto, because it's the powerhouse. It's people who have power to pull strings, or those that are kind of rebellious. Because remember, Pluto's in Aquarius right now, and it will be for quite a number of years. And Pluto is all about rebellion, shocking behavior, surprise. It's also about genius, inventiveness, and of course, the future. And it is connected with the 11th house, which is also connected with our humanity. So, kind of in this T square with the moon and Scorpio and the sun and Pluto, excuse me, the sun in Taurus. Pluto is kind of like the one, even with Pluto, that's more about our humanity, our sensitivities as far as how we relate to each other. Whereas Scorpio is about the behind the scenes, Taurus is about somewhat bullying, stubborn behavior. So right now, during this time of the Scorpio full moon, we're just going to have to make sure we don't get overly intense. Scorpio, Taurus. We don't want to get too intense or focused or obsessed on some issue that deals with possibly intimacy, could deal with secrets. We may feel somebody is keeping something from us, and this could also be with the powers that be. We may feel like there's some information that we feel is not being told, or is really kind of captured our attention. What is this person or these individuals keeping from us that is giving them a sense of power? Because we're talking Pluto and Scorpio, and that's also the depositor of the full moon with Mars in its own in Aries. And because, keep in mind, Mars is also in Aries and the depositor of the Scorpio full moon, whatever it is that we feel like, there's kind of like a lot of head games going on here with this T square with Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. We may feel a bit rash or a bit impulsive or aggravated very easily now. So we're going to have to watch so tempers don't easily flare up. And because of this issue of kind of stubborn behavior, people kind of keeping information from us to try to get the upper hand, so to speak. And this could create intense conflicts because we've got Mars in the mix here, even though Mars is in its own sign of Aries, which is great. It gives us a great ability to really express ourselves and really stand up and take action, which is good. But with this connection with Scorpio and Aries, it also gives us this desire for arguments, for fighting, or the fighting spirit, really acting a little bit combative, if you will, and impulsive. This is a time that we're not really apt to really think before we act or react. And so this is something that we need to take away from this chart. Instead of getting upset very quickly with this Mars and Aries and kind of the depositor of the moon in Scorpio with Pluto, we really need to think before we act and to think clearly. We don't want to regret any actions, but that's going to be the atmosphere for this full moon, and of course, until the next new moon, of course, which would be in Taurus. So we really want to find some outlet for what? For cooperation, because that's not really the tone, so to speak, again here in this chart. It's not really about negotiating. It's not really about cooperating. And of course, with this T-square involving the full moon and the depositor, one of the depositors, we really are going to try to get our way. It's not about us. It's not about our needs. Also, you don't want to play head games, whether it's passive aggressive or other issues. And Scorpios sometimes, especially with this axis with the full moon, has a tendency to just kind of stew over the details and uh, you really kind of seethe about issues from the past or yeah, just a lot of said, she said, a lot of head games, and we just need to relax. Honestly, during this Scorpio full moon, if I had to give any advice, that is it, because the energy is ramped up right now with this T-square and Mars and Aries. We really want to take action, which is good, kind of like the Aries connection on the last report. We want to just go at it. We want to get things done. Uh, we are feeling rather impulsive, and it's good to take the initiative, but in this case, we may become rather petty with details, with a fighting spirit, and because, yes, Taurus is involved here with the sun, we don't want to bully others in our need to get our way, into our need to kind of throw our weight around. This is a time we're not looking to negotiate. It's my way or the highway. We have to be cautious of bullying. And yes, this could involve crowds or the public because we're involving Aquarius Pluto here. So honestly, could there be some upheavals? Yes, that is a possibility of this full moon in Scorpio. Public attention, sharp words over the internet or elsewhere. This may also come into the news, prominent disagreements, and so on and so forth. All of this during this Scorpio full moon, just before and of course afterwards, as mentioned, until the next new moon, of course, in Taurus, we really are going to need to just chill out. This is the time, because we're not going to be in the mood to tolerate too much, and it's about reacting. And in a positive sense, let's look at the positives here. Okay, the moon in Scorpio is a detective. Scorpio likes to get at the bottom of things. It is a natural researcher. Scorpio loves mystery. So not only are Scorpios good at giving out a sense of mystery, and they're very secretive, and they hold a lot of power, which that's going to be a theme for this full moon. But Scorpios are healers. Scorpios are really very psychic and insightful, not just intense, but if the intensity is driven and focused into helping others, well, that's not such a bad thing. That's a good thing. Okay, Scorpio has the tendency to transmute from negative to positive, kind of like the phoenix rising from the ashes, if you will. That's the image of Scorpio. So there's either fight or flight with this Scorpio moon. It's either we make a choice to agree and cooperate and transform some negative or intense energy into positivity, or we kind of submit to the lower energies of this Scorpio intense atmosphere. And yes, it's about oppositions, it's about debate, senseless argument, or fighting. But you can guarantee at one point during this full moon, it's going to be about a fighting spirit. You just want to make the fighting spirit something positive, not negative. So we must keep that in mind. And we have, looking at the other planets, we have Chiron at 27 degrees of Aries, exactly conjunct Mercury. And Chiron, as always, is the healer. And it's with Mercury, which is the thinker, the communicator. So, in some way, our communications are going to be about, or our sit down self psychology, if you will, our kind of internal communication is going to be kind of reflecting on the past, because we're talking Chiron here and it's an Aries. And so we don't want to become self critical, because Chiron, in its effect of creating a healing, we may have a tendency to kind of not accept our flaws and kind of project or think pessimistically. And now we've got Mercury, the communicator, with Chiron. So this is the time, because of that conjunction with Mercury, which is really a very good conjunction indeed. We really want to heal our past. We want to heal our wounds. We want to think, especially with Aries, more positively. We want to feel, Chiron, that there are changes for the better that are being made here. And that's what's important. Our thinking may go from being rather pessimistic and kind of self critical, self analytical, to more of a positive, take charge Aries attitude. How can I change the past? How can I change my attitude to what did not go well before me? So there's all this kind of sit down psychology going on right now with Mercury and Chiron. To we want to heal. We want to find ways of mending whatever has made us feel emotionally kind of inferior, and we want to look to the future to change our awareness and change our feelings about ourselves or some kind of an issue that has been a soft point for us. So this is good with Mercury conjunct Chiron. Of course, Neptune is now at 3 degrees of Saturn, and it's making within about 6 degrees a really, really wide conjunction with Saturn. So Saturn is a bit of a blocker. It creates delays, but Saturn is the wise teacher. Neptune is a bit of a deceiver. So there's not a close conjunction, as it were, but it is still a bit of a wide conjunction. So we have to be cautious of the details. Aries is all about beginnings. That's wonderful. Saturn, Neptune. But remember, especially here, if you are signing contracts, you really want to read through the fine print and you want to make sure whatever goals that you are setting up right now, whatever plans that you have, that you go over them many times so that in the future there are no glitches. And especially here because Neptune is known to dissolve. And so you don't want to make concrete plans or what you think are concrete, strong plans, whatever it may be, a business, it could be a marriage, relationship, it could be any kind of project that you're working on. You want to make sure that everything is zipped up really well with this Saturn and Neptune connection. It allows us to have really good intuition because it's involving Saturn and Neptune. It's great for business. It's great for focus because that's what Saturn is about. And once we begin something, we're going to tackle it head on and we're going to have fierce determination to complete whatever it is we've got our eye on, whatever our goal is, which is really positive. So, and of course, some positivity here. We have Neptune and Saturn, and they are making a sextile, air and fire to Pluto. So the thing is this, it's kind of like a double-edged sword in this chart. We have a good connection about wanting to, say, for example, do business with others or connect with those in power. But the problem is because of the fixity of purpose here with this T-square, we want to reach out and we want to, this is very productive, Saturn, Neptune, sextile Pluto. It's a very productive influence. It gives us the impetus, Aries, and the ideals, the objectives, Aquarius, the need to relate to each other, Aquarius, and come to the table with some good ideas. But the problem is that this chart, this sextile, is kind of offset with this T-square in the fixed signs of Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio. So the art here, I guess you could say, is to temper your temper, to stay on the focus of interacting with each other. And this is kind of creative because, as I said, it's about Aquarius and ideals. And so Saturn and Neptune are really focused on getting the job done because, see, Saturn is in the mix here. And that's great. It gives us a great creative outlook. And we really want to come to the table with some really good ideas, some, creative notions, if you will, and this allows us to do so. But it's like, okay, I'll meet up with you, but the problem is if I don't get my ideas put on paper or my thoughts are out there about, say, this project or negotiations, well, then we're done and there could be a real big blow up. And that's kind of the dynamic, the good with the bad here. I don't want to say bad, but well, maybe not so good in this chart. It's about really kind of realizing we have to work with each other. We have to work within. Because if we don't do that, well, then this chart's about fireworks with Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus. And then it could go down the road from, not really working with each other as we're starting off to, well, then I didn't get my way. There's explosions, or there's intensity, seething of emotion to kind of uh, become kind of vindictive or spiteful. So there's this atmosphere, as I said early on, with kind of head games, passive aggression, or with the Aries in the mix, outright aggression. So we really want to take a hint from this negotiable Saturn Neptune, very, very wide conjunction with a very wide conjunction to Pluto. We want to work with the powers that be. We don't want to be so rash or intent on the me first that there's cause for trouble here, because this chart has that capacity during the full moon. It can be trouble if we don't heed the signposts, for sure. And Uranus, oh, look at this. Uranus is now at 0 degrees of Gemini. And Venus, the planet of love, is at 9 degrees of Gemini. Now, there are some astrologers that do give what is called like an orb, means the connection between planets. And in this case, if you went to about 10 degrees or between Uranus and Venus, you could say it could be a really, 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 really wide conjunction. But honestly, Venus, it's at 9 degrees, and it's even past the standard 7 degrees in Gemini here. Nonetheless, Uranus is now in Gemini and Venus there. That's very flirty because Venus loves to communicate. And right now, we are really going to tell it like it is. Why? And we have to watch what we say. We don't want to speak impulsively because the depositor is somewhat late Mercury in Aries still, and that is the depositor now, even of Uranus and Venus. It's very good if you really want to get off your chest what you want to say. Right now, we're going to tell it like it is. We may be a bit blunt, a bit flirty, which is good with this Gemini connection. And it's really good for communications in general because now we do have a bit of a wide trine to Pluto in Aquarius. And that's the depositor, Uranus, of Pluto. So that's a very positive trait now within this chart. It's about communications of all types, new forms of communication that we may hear about will come into play. Yes, of course, inventions, because we have the trine between Pluto and Uranus, and between, yes, even between Venus, the planet of love and affection in Gemini to Aquarius. So during this time of the full moon, we're going to feel or we're going to hear about amazing inventions or science, anything that gears towards science, communications of all types, whether it's involving computers, and whether it's involving technology, whether it involves AI. This connection with Uranus and Venus making a trine to Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus as the depositor is extremely tech future oriented. So there's going to be a lot of discussions also about space. You know, we've got Pluto in Aquarius, so that kind of comes into the mix here, a love for the future and knowledge, because Pluto is in Aquarius and Uranus at 0 critical of Gemini, and Venus in Gemini is all about relating. It's all about that which involves knowledge and communications without getting emotional. So this is really good. This is where we will agree. Well, what plans, what objectives, goals do we have for the future? There's some new AI uh, discussions or inventions or new inventions, of course, altogether, as I mentioned. Um, this opens up with this Gemini Aquarius, this opens up a lot of lines of communication with each other scientifically, which is really positive. So our love right now during this full moon is all going to be about tech and the future, science, space, inventions, you name it. And that's where we all relate to each other because we do have Aquarius in this mix here, and that is always about our humanity. So there may be some discussion about something that could help humanity in general, whatever that could be. So there is some positive here with that Uranus Venus connection trine Pluto. Yes, indeed. And of course, we have an exact sextile, air and fire, with Saturn at 9 degrees of Aries and Venus, the planet of love and affection, at 9 degrees of Gemini. So this kind of opens the door of discussions about, kind of like the last forecast, about intimacy, relationships. There may be some information that comes about now that uh, some medium that aids us in our discussion of intimacy, relationships, male, female, romance, connecting with each other. That is also a positive right now. Maybe it just opens up discussions about relationships, but this is going to come about now, and solidifying relationships, because we've got Saturn here, and Saturn is, for the most part, very stable, and with it when it is making a substantial sextile, supportive sextile, as they say, to Venus, the planet of love and affection. That's really good that we want to discuss, or what comes to the fore now are thoughts of humanity and charity and helping each other, but being very intelligent about it, practical, maybe making a plan. How can we help each other? There may be some information if you go on a broad scale with this Venus Saturn sextile about charity. So there could be a lot about how we help our fellow man and woman here. Uh, with charity and charity at home, charity abroad, communicating, maybe something about an organization that may be uh, popular now regarding charity or helping other people. And so this is also another good connection between Saturn and the sextile to Venus about love and affection. Nonetheless, they're going to come to the fore now. And we got Jupiter, as always, the planet of prosperity, in the sign of Cancer. And Cancer, kind of like this supportive sextile between Venus and Saturn at 9 degrees, is also about home. It's about family. Fourth house, of course. And this is where the thoughts are going to turn to about creating prosperity. What is fourth house? Fourth house is about the physical home. It's also about real estate. It's also about, because we're talking Taurus, and we're talking about here Jupiter, the planet of prosperity, in Cancer. So our discussions now financially will be about real estate. That's going to become a forefront now with Taurus and Cancer. And Cancer is all about investments. So we may hear a lot in the news now about metals, silver, gold, where there's some good news and really kind of saving for a rainy day. And this is really positive with Jupiter and Cancer because it allows us to really think about our future and what? To protect our own, to protect ourselves, to protect our family, and to really build for the future. But yes, a lot with all kinds of investing now are also going to be the topic of discussion. Uh, and saving, security, because that's also what Cancer is about, our foundation, our security, and really kind of protecting each other and everybody. It's not just at home, but it's also worldwide to some degree. And in that case, both Pluto and Aquarius and Jupiter in Cancer kind of have that in common, where we want to reach out, we want to protect, and so on and so forth, all about family, home, investing, and those kind of topics. And that's what also now Jupiter in Cancer is what's going to make our money. Investing now, savings now. This is what is very important. And don't be surprised, on another note, if you find yourself renovating or doing lots of repairs, or maybe even getting into maybe flipping real estate. Fourth house, Cancer. They're going to be very important uh, bits of information right now, and that would generate an income or money for you in the future with Jupiter in Cancer. And the moon, even at 11 degrees, uh, Scorpio is applying more of a trine, a closer trine to Jupiter. So that's a positive for this new moon. We really are developing our sensitivities to each other. So it's like, on one hand, it's kind of conflicting, a little bit tense right now to say the least, but then you've got Jupiter, which always does everything in a big way, making, well, there's an applying trine to the moon and Jupiter. So we really relate with our sensitivities. We kind of are, to some degree, kind of welcoming and wanting to discuss something that has really captured our attention, about something unknown that we want to figure out. Because remember, Scorpio is a natural researcher, and Jupiter is connected with the ninth house, and that's all about knowledge, education, and whatever it is, we want to get to the bottom of something. And with the supportive trine or applying trine between the full moon in Scorpio and Jupiter, this is something that's also going to be a big topic. What is it that we have to research, that we have to figure out what the truth is? Because Scorpio likes truth, and with this supportive trine to very educational Jupiter and in Cancer, well, we will likely find the answers after the Scorpio new moon, once we get to the Scorpio full moon, once we get to the Taurus new moon over the next few weeks. But this is something that we feel that we need to maybe put closure on. We need to not just figure out and research, it's going to be a big topic of discussion. And especially since Uranus and Venus right now are in Gemini, and this kind of opens up doors for discussions in all forms of communication. So that's very positive. And of course, with the full moon in Scorpio, there's somewhat of also a wide trine to the north node and a sextile to the south node in Virgo. Also very supportive about really expressing our emotions. Right now, the nodes are very sensitive points in the sky, and with a wide trine and sextile to the full moon, kind of like the connection with Jupiter and the moon. And all this eh, ouchiness right there in this chart, we have the propensity to express our sensitivities, which is really good. So we don't want to become numb to so much stubborn attitudes and behavior that we don't consider other people's point of view, and we want to develop our sensitivities to each other. So that's extremely important with these connections with the full moon and the north and south node. Keep that in mind. So, to surmise, yes, this Scorpio full moon is certainly going to be intense, but we've got the T square, so we really need to back off a little bit, kind of chill out with the bullying behavior, stubborn behavior. We have to watch our speech uh, because uh, we've got Mercury and Mars in its own in Aries. So we want to say what's on our mind, but we have to watch that we are not insensitive to other people's sensitivities, because there is the offset in this chart of the need to be sensitive, to be aware. We want to chill down our impulsive, rash behavior and watch for wanting to get your way during this time. It is about, with the supportive trine with Pluto and Venus and Uranus, it's about really communicating. And that is the key here during this time for the Scorpio full moon until the next new moon. It's about communications. And because there are some supportive sextiles to the Gemini, Uranus, and Venus in Gemini with the Aries connection. So that's what it's about. It's about keeping the door open and communicating when we really are in a fighting spirit, when we're intense, when there's a lot of head games going on and a lot of he said, she said, and feeling like there's, stuff that we got to figure out and look into. Maybe we may feel on a more personal level things are being kept from us, and so this is kind of requiring with this T square a little bit of some frustration and irritation, and so this is setting things off. So we have to keep in mind what we have to communicate. And that's what this chart is saying. Be sensitive, be communicative, and our meetings of the mind right now is our discussions about tech, about the future, about, really interacting with, as I aforementioned, our ideas, our ideals, our humanity. And that will offset, at the end of the day, ultimately, our connection with each other, and yes, our humanity and positivity for the future.
If you'd like to get in touch with me, my contact information is down below. I give one-on-one readings and written reports. Please subscribe to this channel and press the bell notification. Until next time, many, many blessings.